Thank
How
you
are
for
you?
Thank you for coming to the grand juries. It's always really fast paced on those days. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yep.
coming. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, welcome. When I discovered your site about, was it early 21? I thought it looks interesting. I like the colors. They were.
Yes, it needs to be very peaceful because we live in a very crazy world.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, I'm going to mute myself, and if you'd like to give an insight into what we've got. We're on record now, so you're welcome to just give us a total insight to maybe your background first. That would be beautiful. And what brought you on this path to build this, and give us some true law.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Can I just ask, because there's 12 people in the room, well, 11, do people in this room know executiveorders.life? I know you obviously do. Does anyone in here know? Just put your hand up if your camera's off, and you don't want to turn it on. Just put your yellow hand up if you know it.
Yeah, know it.
Oh, Andrew, you're from Monday's group, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So I've seen you twice before now. Thanks, Andrew.
No worries.
So a few people know it, and lots of people don't know it by the look of it. Okay, so I didn't have time to check. I don't want to just talk at you. I don't like doing that. So I really would like people to engage as well, please.
Fair enough. So Leith, what's your background?
Okay, so for myself.
Based where? Where are you?
Pardon?
Where are you based?
I'm on the West Coast.
Yep. So WA. Yeah. Okay. Have you always been there?
I grew up here, yeah, but I've traveled extensively around the world, and I give immense thanks for all those years of backpacking around and living in all different places around the world. Without that foundation in my early 20s, well, you know, for all of us, we're all who we are today because of where we've come from. So that those years were foundational in my development and in witnessing the landscape of the planet. Beg your pardon?
I said that wasn't long ago then, in your 20s.
Thanks. You're too kind, Andy. Thanks. Okay, so additionally then, about myself, I have a business that's nearly 30 years old. I work in fragrance. So I work in holistic health is my field. I'm a professional astrologist. I've been reading for people for 30 years. I'm an extensive spiritual counselor. I work in super out there realms of spirit and with astrology, and I'm a quantum thinker, speaker kind of individual. So through being inside this paradigm, I witnessed, of course, running into it, being in business and what have you, that it was extremely dysfunctional. But of course, at first, it makes you believe that you're the dysfunctional one and you're the failure and you can't get anything to work correctly. But in actual fact, it's the system, and everything is inverted and back to front and upside down. And it's a mind game for you to try and work that out. And work out who's who in the zoo is what I say a lot to help speed it along, to help you get clear on who is who in the zoo. And so then about 14 years ago, I ended up in the back end of old canon law and banking, and because I'd had huge matters of banking in my business arena. And anyway, I went back into the back end of the Vatican stuff, and I work with a woman named Dee, who will be popping on. I don't know where she is. I might ping her quickly. Anyway,
she's coming in.
Oh, she is.
Just pressing the button.
Okay, so we do incredible work in architecting. Hey, Dee. Architecting law, because what we're inside is a private legal system. It is not a lawful system. And so I'll have to just actually set it up. I'll show you around a little bit of a few things. So basically, in listening to the way I speak, you would be really seeing it as redesigning the architecture of who you are now and where you're going, and understanding what the platform is that we're standing on, and the vortex that we're moving through. And I'm just getting up the site so I can show you. And so we work in law. So inside the private legal system, which is where everything is, you're just chattel, which lots of people kind of know that, but they don't understand the architecture of it because it's very old architecture. And it's very rare to be able to find individuals in this crazy busy time that have, for whatever reasons in their life, been able to research it to the level, for example, that Dee and I talk in. And there's loads of other people around that might know a different section of it or whatever. But we work in this capacity, which is a very full-on capacity, I have to say, and very clean and clear. When you dig in around in it, we keep it very clean and clear, because we're coming through 800 years of stuff, and where everything is, which is inside the master trust. So this is our site that we work through, Crown Executive Orders, indicating that you are Crown, you are God having a human experience in a human suit. And so what does that mean? What does that mean? And that means a lot. If you don't grasp that, then you're really not got a footing. You can't anchor yourself in to understand where your inherent rights come from. If you don't stop and first address that that is what is going on here, that this is the God divine spark, of which we are all of the same and come from and go back to. That's why we have maxims of law like do unto others as you expect them to do unto you. And we particularly use in law, the meek shall inherit the earth, Matthew 5:5, because we are the God divine spark, having a human experience in the third dimensional reality. So our crown chakra is our crown, and spirit sits within the body temple, within this chakra system that's all feeding the energy fields and using the meridians and et cetera, et cetera. So then to find ourselves inside a private trust back in 1302, which is Unum Sanctum, and was a, hang on, just let me make that smaller, was an outcome, I hate it when it does that, was an outcome of the Magna Carta and the developments of that. So 1215, and then in 1297 that developed, which is Magna Carta's rule of law, all are equal before the law. Very important. That's the absolute foundation of law. All are equal before the law. You must truly stop and ponder that, because that is an energetic mechanism that allows you to measure whether things are okay or not. So law is actually energetic fields with sort of like trapdoors in it in some ways, mechanisms that protect our safety. One of the main ones, I'll give you an example. One of the main ones that has got sort of like this trapdoor thing is, well, obviously the first one's a consent. Everything must be by consent, because you are that God force sitting in that body temple. So if you don't give consent and someone thinks they have consent over you, which is the whole issue of the COVID and the mandatory dialogue, then you must be a slave. So you're either free or you're a slave. That's all there is. And which one are you? And how are you conducting yourself? And have you been put into slavery and it's been neatly packaged up and called guardianship, which it has. And I'll tell you about that. But anyway, corporate immunity is a very important mechanism in law that protects us from corporations getting superior jurisdiction over us and thinking that they can manage us. And so everyone has just witnessed now that that is what has been allowed to happen, that the corporations, which are full of AIs, just AIs with people plugged into the AIs, they've taken the position as ruler. And you got to witness that because you saw them pass down their statutes and legislations and bylaws and say, oh, you know, you've got to get The mandates, yeah. You've got to get vaccinated or you'll lose your job. So that does not exist in law. That does not exist in law. And if humanity knew law, which it doesn't know law, that wouldn't have been able to happen. And so how did it happen that humanity got to a place where humanity doesn't know law and was easily taken like that? How did we let that happen?
Would you say it was down to the fact of education?
Oh, it's many things. It's the fact that you're in guardianship and you have not been in guardianship. You don't need to know anything. So that's how humanity has been managed, under guardianship. So there's this whole system of the Board of the Guardians that have risen up through the Poor Laws, which began in 1535 with Henry VIII and then developed with Queen Victoria and has always been constantly developing. They exist to this very day, the Poor Laws. And so inside the Poor Laws.
I read something the other day about the Poor Laws, and apparently we were only separated from animals at some point in that equation after Henry VIII. We were equivalent to animals at one point, the poor.
Yeah, well, that's all what Terra Nullius is based on, the claim that the inhabitants here were animals and didn't need to be consulted, and hence the land was swiftly stolen away. You know, so that's just part of the injury that exists here on these lands. But anyway, these are old, and this is full of horrible, macabre stuff. And it is the human as chattel, just chattel. So you're barcoded, and that's what you are to this very day. And they've just tried to barcode everyone again with the vaccination, which you are probably aware of at this stage. I'm going to stop in a minute and calibrate the room so I can see a hand up, because I don't want to just talk at you. So just give me a minute to get to another tiny bit further on, and then I'll stop. So
leave your hand up, Kath, if you want, though. So
yeah, I won't be long. I just
there'll be an order, and I'll pick them through. Okay.
So corporate immunity is what we call a legal fiction. So everyone is inside this legal fiction called unum sanctum, but there's two of everyone. There's the public and the private. And so that's another big launch of conversation that I'll do after I've given a break in a second. But when folks really start to understand that there's very naturally a public you and a private you, then you can start really shifting your consciousness forward and understanding how to navigate the terrain better and differently, and from a commercial perspective and from a law perspective, and not just be the chattel inside the private legal system, not knowing or seeing that there's another you out here that's private, and how does that function, and what does it do, and how does it hold accountability. So this is where mandatory and corporate immunity have been very much used against humanity for this very wicked hand that has been ruling our planet for a very long time, that we are now dismantling. And so the more that humanity stands up to understand, what is going on with that shift of consciousness, then the faster we get to move out of it, basically. So I can show you some amazing astrology things as well, if you want. But again, I'm not going to bog down too quickly. Andy, I'm going to hand it back to you to just check in and see if people
any questions, put your hands up. Kath, you've already got yours up. You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask questions. Kath's from Sydney. She popped down here for about a week. She's a nurse.
3 weeks.
Oh, the time went so quickly. It was very easy. I wasn't cooking as many meals. It was very, very good time. What can I say? And we had fun. Your motorhome
bus. It's still a work in process, but thank you for your contribution. I've typed my question in there.
I saw it, Kath. I saw it.
Yeah. So can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, throughout all time, there's always been good and evil, and, you know, Cain and Abel and all that type of thing. So it's not new that there's always been a push-pull to the humanity wanting to self-manage itself. And then there being a ruling hand that wants it to be its slave. This is a very long, ongoing battle that the consciousness of humanity is in. And so as we move out of the age of Pisces, an age of guardianship, as I showed you, the pink circle, and we move into the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is humanity. So humanity must be managing it itself. And so how does it do that? Well, it has to learn an entirely new skill set because it's been under guardianship. And so therefore it's been very dumbed down and fed a whole bunch of bullshit, like you should be paying for everything that you already own. Our right to inherit resources, the meek shall inherit the earth. We shouldn't be paying for things like electricity and so forth. Obviously Tesla discovered, you know, free electricity a long time ago, and it's just been the commercialization of absolutely everything, water, absolutely everything, for, you know, the profit of the private few. So it's about rejigging that whole equation. So a lot of this is about, you know, what position were we in? Where are we moving to? What resources have we got that we've already built? How are we repurposing them to actually serve humanity instead of just, you know, whip it with a long, ugly, you know, piece of leather? So those sorts of things. I just want to go back to your question, so the Magna Carta is just one of those pivotal points in time that is exactly the same as right now. So what the Magna Carta did was call to a verbal loud halt. Stop, nobility. You do not have the right to have a second set of laws to ourselves, because that is not law, because that is indeed slavery. So we will put this document into place called the Magna Carta that recognizes all are equal before the law. And so King John did agree to that at that time, even though they didn't want to, but they did, because they knew the law was the law, right? And you're going to go to hell if you don't follow the law. That is for sure, right? And I'm not just speaking religious stuff. I'm talking energetic fields. If you don't follow the correct energetic fields, your life is going to go somewhere ugly, right? If you plant an apple seed, you expect to get an apple tree. You don't get a lemon tree. So you've got to follow the laws.
Natural law.
So anyway, that's where the, you know, then when the Magna Carta matured, as I've already said, in 1297 and then 1302, everything got dumped into Unum Sanctum by Pope Boniface at the time, which was to say that they owned the whole planet and everyone on it, and consequently went on to separate out the Holy Trinity of the mind, body, spirit, separated it out and put the body into chattel and barcoded it and started using the energetic force for the profit of this entity that wanted to come in here where the crown chakra is in our direct relationship to God. It inserted itself in here and said, no, you're incompetent. You're not going to have that. We're going to run that for you. And that's what they did. And so they've been brainwashing everyone ever since, and hoarding all the resources and dispersing it out to us as if we live in scarcity, which is just an idea. Scarcity is an idea, a very bad, ugly, twisted, sick idea. We do not live on a planet that is full of scarcity. That is complete rubbish. So again, I kind of want to stop and just check in with people. So I would launch into law in a second. Does anybody want to ask a
good question? I have a little difficulty with the 1215 Magna Carta or 1215 to 1297 Magna Carta because it was under force. But I do look back at the 1688 Bill of Rights, and I read through the Bill of Rights 1688, and it is in a very similar format of your rights and your right to do things. So I sort of pull towards that 1688 Bill of Rights, which is a Protestant Crown bill, which basically defuncts the 1666 Quest QV Trust and gives you an opportunity to move forward. The Bill of Rights is in Australia. You know, and a lot of people don't realize that 1688 Bill of Rights is in Australia when we only got here in 1790, whatever it was, and supposedly claimed the land, which was already full. You know, we only claimed 3 islands. But what are your thoughts on that, Leith? I mean, you talk about the 1215 Magna Carta, but I mean, if someone's, you know, knife at the throat by 25, 30 barons with their armies, would you say that was a fair contract?
Yes, because you have to think of it like this, right? You're not really getting caught up in particular documents. There's many documents through time. They're all simply recording our rights. They're not granting them. Our rights are inherent, as we indicated by having the spirit, you know, crown chakra, we're spirit here. We have inherent rights that come with us. Do unto others as you expect them to do unto you. So it doesn't matter what chaos is unfolding, even right now. You've got to look at the consciousness and say, do I have inherent rights? Do I have access to them? And is the machinery in place to facilitate that? Because that's the way that it should be. And if it's not, which right now it's not, the bigger question is not what document can I call upon, but what law am I calling upon to rejig everything? So that's essentially what we're doing, is rejigging everything and putting everything back into its correct position of law, which is to, you know, move the guardians into the trustee positions and move humanity into their rightful position of being executor and beneficiary of their trust, which, you know, this essentially is the trust. This is the land. This is the right to resources. And how does that look? And so then, of course, the main trauma, one of the main traumas we're facing is that the corporation, which is, I'm just not going to read right now the thing at the side if it's directed at me, because I'll look at it in a second. The corporations we've allowed them to step into the position of alleging to have superior jurisdiction, because the chattel, the barcoded chattel, is what has been being commercialized for the private profit. And so we're collapsing all of that. So that's the main shift of consciousness. And then all the resources, where are they? Well, they're still in the trust. So the trust is really essentially everything's changing jurisdictions, is how we like to sum it up. So the corporations are in inferior jurisdiction because we created them. So they could only be in inferior jurisdiction. That's not a highly debatable concept. That's a really logical concept. That which you created, you are in charge of and control of. It cannot suddenly be in charge and control of you. So humanity essentially must get a grip on understanding who's got superior jurisdiction. So in executive orders, we're always talking about superior jurisdiction and working out who's where and what's what. That's really important to know. And the game that we have been playing is pretty much the monopoly game. That's one of the gazettes for the world that we've been in, is monopoly, where the bank owns everything and takes everything and blah, blah. And so now we work to, not only do we write extensively and hold grand juries and executive orders, so we're up to the 14th one, which will be on the 10th of October. And if you go through the join us button on executiveorders.life, you'll end up in the MailChimp world, and then you'll get an email a few days beforehand calling for jurors, and you just, you know, reply to that. Kurt's been to at least 2. How many have you been to, Kurt?
Yeah, 2.
2, yeah, I've seen it too.
Yep.
They're fabulous. They're really concise. They're just 2 hours. We go through a landscape update, and we always have orders, and the jury passes on the orders, and we're 230 orders deep at this point in time, which serve us really, really well. So it's about humanity knowing that we've done all that work over a year. The common law courts are now coming in and joining us. So they're all in their they're in their assemblies. So they're more like a local council level. So they're able to call on the orders from the grand jury, because the grand jury is really at a national level. We changed the jurisdiction back in the equinox of last year. And that is because we had no law. We had no law here in Australia. We only had the private operating system of the commercial world, in which the body is the chattel. And so therefore we refer to the lawyers, not really as lawyers, but as legal practitioners of a private operating system of commerce, because that's what it is. And the clearer we can see it, the better. And no disrespect to any of the good people that are in those industries or in any part of the landscape that is doing a good, honest job and trying to get along and can probably see that everything's screwy, but hey, they've got to put food on the table and all that stuff. You know, we offer huge space to all of that. And when we talk to the corporations, which we do extensively, we're always giving them guidance and saying, prepare your systems, you know, we're coming, because we are. So we try to pull them up all the time.
Do you stand by international law, Leith?
Yes and no, not essentially. We stand by rule of law, natural law. It's written in nature. We don't have to create it. A lot of international law is based around the very long, centuries-old war period that we have been in. And, you know, in this golden age that we're stepping into, there is no war. For 1,000 years, there is no war. So, you know, we just follow natural law. You know, it's sort of.
Everybody just listen to that. 1,000 years of no war. When you've
1,000 years of no war.
When you've got Biden blowing up gas pipes coming out of Russia, you know.
Yeah.
It just.
Well, you know, you have to appreciate we're in the last stages of a very advanced war. Of course, this is a war that we're in right now, and there has been huge casualties, and that was always going to be the case because war has casualties. But, you know, the war has been won, and we're in the last stages of it. So it's been pretty savage. It's been a global war, right? This is Operation Paperclip.
It's silent weapons of quiet wars, or was it the other way around?
Yes, correct. Silent weapons of quiet wars. That's exactly it. You can find that I'll show you on the homepage of executive orders. I'll zip in and see if I can show you a few things around there so that you know. Do people want to ask stuff? I don't want to just talk at people and overwhelm with information. There are quite a few processes on executive orders that I can show you as well. I haven't been able to read the side section. Andy, is there something in there I should be answering?
I think there was a message earlier, but I mean, I'm happy for you to sort of have as a bit of a show through your site if you wish.
Yeah, right. I'll do that.
An insight into what's already happened and how many people have actually participated in some of these grand juries. So, and what sort of people they are, you know, who's come along and thought, well, whoa, hey, hold on, something's happening here. Let's see if we can move forward rather than, you know, sideways, backwards or whatever. So it'd be really interesting. I mean, I participated in probably the first 3, but I've been fairly busy and I tend to miss emails and look at them days after the event.
Yeah.
If you ever text me, I'd be there, mate, if you need me.
Well, they're on every full moon, just for your awareness. So, all right, hold on. Let me just.
What happens when we get 3 full moons? Because we had 3 full moons last month.
Well, we're just following the standard, because, you know, we're doing the astrology as well, so we're following this.
They came a day after each other, but there were definitely 3 full moons. I took photographs of them. That was weird.
You mean it went for 3 days or what?
Yeah, it ran for 3 days.
Oh yeah, well that's normal. That's normal.
Oh. Not in England, it's not.
No. Okay, so cool. All right, so okay, how to lead you in. If I take you in and I show you this, then this is a way of understanding the pink circle is called the person and the public. The person and the public. And then the outside is the people. So these are called your tools in commerce, and this line is the line that no one can see. And this is the pivotal line. And this is where something like the birth certificate crosses over from the people into the public. So it's a tool in commerce. So not knowing where any of you guys are up to at this point of, you know, your understanding of the mechanics of the commerce and what have you, the birth certificate is important, along with any of the tools, any of the persons, which is the driver's license, the passport. These are all things to navigate around the trust and through the terrain. What has happened is they've been under the guardian jurisdiction. That's the main issue. If you were looking at your passport, you'd see a P in the passport, which is to say that you're a peasant, pauper, property. That's who you are in that reality. So now if you were to come here, you can do it on the PPSR, which is a government owned website. And that's why I'm an advocate, obviously, for this one, because Humanity owns this one, meaning it's on here. That is to go into recording your Crown jurisdiction. So in this site, everything is a page and then a gazette, because law must be gazetted out into the public arena. So you're doing your public notice of Crown jurisdiction, which is to say, you know that you are here on this planet in your highest capacity and nobody has rule over you unless you're harming someone else. So you would just be registering, for want of a better word, yourself into here. And then because everything's got a gazette, you'd find yourself Crown jurisdiction here on the public gazette, which is to say it's then time stamped that you have recognition of yourself in this higher capacity, and that everything that you're here on the planet with belongs to you. Your car, your children, because we know the DCP, we deal with them, they're a nightmare from hell, literally. And you know, that's a timestamp. If ever you were at the side of the road and you wanted to say to the police officer, oh no, I'm not actually under your jurisdiction, I haven't done anything wrong especially, so I'm not under here, I'll show you, I gazetted myself here, have a nice day, bye. You know, you could do that. That's what you're doing when you do this. You're declaring yourself. You're not showing up and just going, oh, here's my driver's license, because if you show them that, you're going to be under their statute and legislation. But that's not to say that I'm not advocating anything about police at the side of the road. It all depends on a situation. I'm just giving you an example. We know that this current landscape is very violent, and we caution very loudly about that. It is a very violent landscape. So here's all the grand juries. They run from September last year. So September, October, November, into December, January, February, Feb, March, April. So we're coming up to our 14th one. We've done a lot of work in that time. The first year was very much building out a lot of body of content. And now, as we just had our 13th one, we've gone from the yin, a year of yin, into a year of yang. So now we actually do have the common law courts attending and putting through their own orders if they want. We passed one at the grand jury last month, which was a food sovereignty one that is now national. So food sovereignty national. No one can interfere with people growing their own stuff or causing them to have some pesticide or whatever. You can read that. It'll be on the site really soon.
I have a question, please.
Yeah.
How many members are in the grand jury, in your grand jury?
Whoever turns up. So we've had as many as 56 and we've had as little as 7.
But there can't be, a grand jury must be more than 23.
No, we are Humanity under extreme distress. We are writing the law every single month. We are Humanity. We are free to do whatever we need to do to protect ourselves. So that's just following common law. We're not saying we're necessarily doing common law. We did a order in the 13th grand jury where we actually aligned common law with rule of law, with living man and with living woman. So we streamlined it all. So, you know, it goes out organically. We just flow at a very, very organic level, and we just put law into place and record it. And that's what it is. So I'm sorry if that violates you, does it?
Okay, another question.
Yeah.
Daniel Andrews has been charged with treason.
Who has, sorry?
Daniel Andrews.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has been charged with misprision of treason.
Yeah.
And he has not turned up to court, and the court was shut down by the magistrate on that day, so nobody could get in. So the charge still stands. It has not been defended by Daniel Andrews. How can you organize a grand jury to have him convicted?
Well, actually, that's kind of, yeah, we can, but the common law assemblies are actually organizing themselves, for example, to do that type of work in given areas. So like a really well organized common law court over there would be able to do that. And so in us working with the common law assemblies, that also helps us to organize protocols so that an assembly can get up and running faster than if it was just trying to start off flat blank and had no idea. So like our Perth Common Law Assembly is very well organised and developing its systems all the time, and we work very full on with them. And so that helps to expand the management for humanity to get themselves up and organised at that level. So you have to be mindful that there's many things in process all at the same time. So to arrest someone under common law and facilitate their arrest is a very big deal. It does not happen overnight, and there's a lot of safety and so forth involved. So those types of matters are very much in progress. Let me put it that way. Does that help you?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, why? What don't you get about it?
If there's a breach of law, a criminal offense has been committed,
Yeah.
and the criminal or the accused person should be facing the court and should be facing the people and should be facing a judge and a jury.
Yes.
If that is not done, then the law, whatever the law is useless.
And I agree with you. I totally agree with you. However, what we're doing is we have to morph into the landscape first. You have to appreciate that the entire landscape is run by the pink circle. And the pink circle does not want the blue circle to show up. And we are in the process of showing up and have been showing up throughout the whole COVID. And that's why it's been very violent. They don't like the blue circle showing up. So yes, all I can say again is we have matters in process that are connected to the blue circle holding accountability to the pink circle, but it does require resources, and it involves interfacing with the guardianship and making them become the trustee. This is the work that humanity is doing as a collective. Let me get that off. And that doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in a silly fashion. And there's a lot of safety involved, and there's a lot of people involved, and there's a lot of due process. And it is very, very serious. I put it to you like that. We do not mess around. So
I put it to you, Frank, that once the numbers rise, things will happen. And at the end of the day, there is a great awakening. I've been in this awakening for probably 7 years in Australia. It is growing. It's massive. The people that I speak to that weren't awake last week suddenly think, oh, yeah, I'm hearing you. It makes sense. There are still plenty out there that just don't have a comprehension any way, shape or form and still live under the pink circle. But there are more and more every day breaking out into that blue outer circle going, hold on a minute, this isn't right. And the more that do that, the further we're going to get. Is that right? Yeah.
I agree with you. More people are waking up. I downloaded this one today from the internet. I'm going to stick it in the office.
very good. That's cute. That's cute. I'm going to offer the floor to Dee for a minute, Dee, if you want, because Dee's not always on in the same environments that I'm on, but she happens to be today. Dee and I've worked together for 21 years, but 14 years in this space. It's a very full-on space. So I'll just give Dee the floor to organically speak to if you want.
Hi, everyone. Yeah. Do you want to ask a question or?
Well, what do you want to say about the current landscape?
Well, the current landscape, yeah, it's moving forward. We're at the precipice. I think it's going to collapse very, very soon. You know, the banking systems since the 24th have all been sort of falling over like dominoes. The Vatican is pulling all the money into the Vatican, which is all going to be seized. And that money is actually going to be shared out amongst the people where it belongs. Yeah, it's big, and it's a big war, but like Lee said, we've won the war. It's just a matter of everybody's consciousness doing that flip. And I agree with you. I've forgot your name and you've just disappeared, Andy.
Hey?
That, you know, people are waking up all the time. It's written in the Bible. It's written in the law that
Hey,
we will actually.
When you say the Bible, you're looking at Revelations, or?
Yeah, basically. But
Yeah.
it's, you know, the Great Awakening is prophesied, and it's along with this quickening, you know, time's going very, very fast. We've gone into a new timeline, and that was destined to, you know, there's you know, they've got the AIs up in place so that we, you know, China prevent us from coming through, and they know that we're coming through, and so we've just got to break through this last barrier, I think, and in any way we can, lawfully.
Which we do.
Can I ask you a few questions, Bill? You sound English. You sound North English. Okay.
Yeah.
You've been in Australia for?
40 years.
40. Well, you don't even look 40. So, I mean, I don't know how that happened. Okay. So you're in Western Australia?
Yes.
And you've worked with Leith for what, 20 years, you say?
Yes. First in business. And then we both studied law. We both went on that journey, and we've been together ever since.
What made you study law? What was the counter thing that made you say, hold on, that's wrong?
Just because in 2008, the financial crisis happened, and both Leith and I were in business, and lots of matters passed our hands, and we're sort of right in the thick of that very first situation whereby we started looking for solutions then, and we found several places to look, and we committed ourselves to trying to see the process right through to the end, and we're pretty much there, I think. You know, we've worked really hard. We've encountered a lot of obstacles, but we're through. We're almost through. It's done.
2008 was a very interesting year. I had all my new caravans stuck straight out my yard because GE decided to take itself out of caravans, and I had to refinance. And if I knew what I knew now, I would have just took the money when I signed the application and never signed the mortgage. But you know, that's more the, you know. We've got questions here, Kath. If you'd like to throw in the room, that would be beautiful. Kath, you got a question? You got your hand up.
Yeah. I was just curious about your concept of money, because I thought, you know, it's a promissory note, it's a debt instrument. Surely we're going to have a new money system. I don't expect that we'll have cash the way we see it.
I think we're going to have cash still. I think people like cash.
Hopefully it's
think
based on
there's
something
lots
real.
of well, there's a fair few financial systems that Leith and I know about, and I'm pretty sure, well, we know one of them involves cash, and I definitely think the quantum financial system will involve cash, because we like cash. People like cash, and it
just has no value, so I don't understand.
but it'd be revalued. It'll all be revalued according to a new playing field. It'll be totally grounded out around the world, and we'll all start anew, and it'll be based on the assets probably of the countries that we're in. You know, so we've all got assets, we've all got resources. In every country.
The resource.
It's only the fictions that create these sort of very poor and, you know, not so bad a plantation with a few bananas on it.
the point there is Africa is probably one of the richest countries in the world in its assets that has never been really fetched at this point, because they are
Slaves.
so living in the life of freedom that they've had.
Who's this?
In Africa?
Yeah, they
has-
will be the richest,
Yeah.
and they were the, you know, that's where.
They're just enjoying life. They're not looking at what they've got in the ground. They've got the richest, they've got the biggest gold, they've got the most diamonds. If their diamond mines were open tomorrow, diamonds would be worth a penny a dozen.
Yeah.
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 So it's ridiculous, you know, it's just ridiculous. Africa is massively wealthy, but the people there are just living a loving life. They're being screwed with the weather. You know, and we know we've got control over that because we spoke to Chris last week. We know that we can control that, and it's being controlled by them at the moment. And we need to get our act together, start sending these airline companies letters of non-consent for them spraying shit in the sky every day. You know, we need to start standing together and doing that, and that's the people that need to do it. So, Kath, have you had your question answered, or do you need more? Do you want to go a little bit further? Oh, good. Okay, Kirk, you got your hand up, mate. If you'd like to bang away at it.
Yes, that's more a question for Dee. How do you go with your mortgage? Did you have any progress?
We're still
Because you
going,
were
but we're
challenging
pretty
that.
much done, I reckon. So,
Oh, good to hear.
Sorry.
Good to hear.
Yeah. So we today we were working on sort of like a second demand from them to a clean and clear title and to damages, basically. But they've sent us 2 notices as well. So what we're doing is just holding them to account and rebutting all the way. But they haven't got a leg to stand on, really. We know that they haven't got a leg. In relation to the law, they've just got nowhere to stand.
I'll give you mine as well. I've not paid mine for 3.5 years.
Right.
And we've had letters backwards and forwards. It's now with a legal company in Melbourne that won't even sign a letter. They print Gaydens on it. You know, it's so fucking ridiculous. And we pull them out every time they send us a letter and say, well, hold on, who is the man or woman behind this letter? Because they just don't even put a signature on it. It's just so ridiculous. Every time they come back to us and say, we don't understand your letter. What can you not understand? What can you not comprehend from what?
Well, what they're saying is they're not standing under you. So but basically you just have to hold them individuals, as many as you can get in terms of a name, to account. So even today we got one from Denton's lawyers, and there is a name on there. So you just hold them to account, and they see that as a threat.
But they
we're threatening them, but we're not threatening them. We're holding them to account. Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful. Well done. And at the end of the day, the more people that do it, the more the other people in the room that haven't done it will have the balls to say, no, stuff you. Stop down, open a new account in another bank and say, no, I'm not paying you anything because you never lent me any money in the first place. Money is
so there's that as well.
You know, the currency that was put to the table was made from the promissory note that I signed when I applied for the loan.
Yeah. And also on top of that, they've sold the note and therefore securitized the title. So somebody else owns the title. So it's all fraud, 100% fraud.
20 times. It's Commonwealth Bank can do those mortgages. They clear them in 30 days and they sell them 24 times in the Commonwealth Bank. Most of the other banks do about 20 times. Building societies like Bendigo, they're only about 12 to 14 times. So, but it's massive. And where's it go? It just goes to debt because all the currency they've got there at the moment is debt. So it's just, well done. Yeah. I'm really pleased you're doing the same thing. Does that answer your question, Kurt?
Yeah, that's good. Good luck. Keep going.
Another question?
Yeah, keep going.
Or have you finished? No, finished. Okay, beautiful. Andrew, you got a question. Who's it to? Yeah, press that button on your phone so you can talk. I know what you're doing. You can't find it because something else comes up at the bottom and it won't let you talk. Are you there? No, you're still muted.
He's trying.
I'm here.
There he is.
Yeah. Anyway,
Who's the
how's it
question?
going? I was just going to ask about the currency for D. Now, you know, the whole movement at the moment is buy gold and silver. Get your money out of the banks. The banks are going to collapse.
Yeah.
This is the general consensus in most of the groups that you know, looking to become sovereign and wanting to be free of the banks and not lose their assets.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of gold and silver, I also understand that a few countries have already gold back their currencies,
Yeah.
including Russia and China,
Yeah.
and India. Brazil is looking to do it. African nations are certainly looking to do it. But what is your take on all of this at the moment? Because again, I have a lot of people coming up to me going, where can I buy gold and silver? What am I going to do with it? How can I secure my assets, my financial assets, in terms of, I mean, property and everything is a big one as well. But can I ask your take on that, Dee?
Yeah, well, I think that you know, what's been built on the other side of the pink circle is a quantum financial system, and that they've been working for many years, you know, passing the accounts of the people over. So I actually think that we're at that stage where we're going to lose our money, and the bail-in and all that sort of business is going to happen. I think we're going to be rich because we're going to get lots of money back through the seized assets. Getting gold and silver, I think, is a great idea to boost your you know, your prosperity, really. And you know, I've sort of looked at that a little bit, and I went to the Perth Mint. So is there a mint in wherever you are?
I'm in Sydney, but no, I don't know if there's a Sydney Mint, but there are smaller mints, private mints, and then I've been dealing with one in Adelaide, and there's also that's a private mint, a private bullion dealer, and but he was of course saying do not buy currency, gold and silver currency. Just buy gold and silver.
Just buy the actual bullion. Yeah.
I'll give you an insight. I've been buying silver for 4 years now. I started buying silver at $20 an ounce. I've got over 100 kilos now, and I don't need it. It's just sitting there. I can't eat it though. So I've also got 8 sheep. I've got 2 pigs. I've got 20 chucks. I've got a veggie garden. You know, I'm growing beans. I've got parsnips at the moment. I've got Asian veggies. I've got silver beet. I've got various leaf things. You know, so you've got to think about food as well. I mean, it absolutely blew me away when everybody went out and bought toilet paper. Yeah. Why would you buy toilet paper over food? You know, I mean,
why would you?
Where are these people? Where are these people thinking? You know, I mean, you can wash your ass with a flannel and rinse it out in the sink. I mean, as long as you've got water, you've not got a problem. You know, food's your main dish. Yeah, and I think cash as well. I think you need some cash. But you've got coins. I mean, I've been buying old 50 cents coins. I've got 550 cents coins. They're valued at like, you know, $13 or $11 now in value, in silver value. Never mind what you need to buy them for, but they're value. They've got value. People can see value in them because they are 82% silver. So just start looking on eBay and eBay. If you trust it. I bought sovereigns on eBay. I bought silver on eBay. Find a local gold silver dealer. If he's got a broken necklace is worth its weight in gold. If it's 9 carat, it's 37.5% gold. If it's 22 carat, it's 50-something% gold. If it's, you know, you gotta get the sums, get the maths, have a play with it. You know, I'll give you 3 links for that, mate. You know, 3 links is just carry a little tiny digital weighing machine with you. You know, break a link off and buy something. You know, if it gets to that point, that's where you're at. But at the end of the day, you need food. So food's your first thing. Warmth is your next, shelter, and love. Well, what else do you need? If you've got love,
Not much more.
You know, much more, not much more. But I mean,
there's going to be plenty of houses, mate. There's going to be so many houses empty. It's just not going to be funny. You can stand in your town and go, I like the look of that one. They're vaccinated. I'll keep the eye on that. And they pass away, I'll be in there. Because then you'll just claim it under common law, and possession is 9/10 of the law. The receipt is only 1%. If you've got a product, you buy a product. Joe Blogg's product. I've got the product. The product is here. I'm 9/10 of this law. It's mine. Okay. And if I've got the receipt for it, everything is mine.
Yeah.
All right. So if you make the receipt by making the claim that you live there, and you do it in the correct way, then you've got it. It doesn't matter. And there's going to be plenty of houses empty, mate, I can tell you.
Yeah.
You know,
unfortunately.
We're talking about 9 to 10 million people dying in Australia in the next 2 years.
Yeah, unfortunately. Very sad.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to be hanging Dan Andrews at some point. Frank doesn't realise. We're going to be hanging, you know, Sutton. We're going to be hanging, you know, what the guys in WA, I can't think of the names off the top of my head, but the police commissioner, the prime minister, they're going to be hung. There's no way it's not going to happen. The people are going to rise, and we
volunteer to hang him.
It's a small group that know, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I can just expand on the question again. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that input, mate. In terms of the, you were saying that there's great financial benefit coming for all people. I mean, I was on an American group during the week, and they were talking about all the payments during COVID in the US actually came from one estate, which was Harvey Weinstein's estate. So they were talking about Harvey Weinstein's estate was seized, and that all the $1,200 payments that were made during the COVID period in the US actually came from that estate, and there's still 95% of that estate left to distribute. Now, in saying that, I'm still trying to get my head around that concept. Well, I do understand the concept, but is that what we're talking about here when you talk about seized assets?
Yes. Seized assets from everywhere, from all the elites, really, everybody that's committed a crime against humanity, and most of them have, because that is their system. So it's just going to be taken and given back to us, the people. Trump says that all the time.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and it's not just from seizing assets, it's from the redistribution of all the assets that have been misappropriated over a very long period of time. So all the assets that were stored in the Vatican, that's all been recovered. Everything that's been misplaced has all been recovered, as well as the Saint Germain Trust, the Rodriguez Trust. As I say, the idea that we would be living in scarcity is just an idea, just a really, really bad idea that's been able to get a global grip. And it's up to the consciousness of humanity to flip itself out of that and just, you know, really appreciate and realize that that's just a fiction. And we need to, and, you know, there's been a very long journey to get rid of that. I mean, the Q movement began with the assassination of JFK two Saturn returns ago, 60 years ago. Mm-hmm. Do people know that we're right at the end point, or where are people at? Put something in the chat, or put your hand up and speak, or, you know, where are people?
Unless you finish it. Sorry, Andrew, you've not finished?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Look, that's great. Thank you for that. Just another question on that. And I'm not, I don't want to come across as a namesayer as such, because I was a great big follower of Trump at one stage. And, but I felt, I started feeling that, you know, people are still dying, and they're still talking about a lot of things, and a lot of people are still dying. And I've always felt that Trump was the other side of the coin, same coin, but just the other side. You know, he's the so I just I don't share your confidence in yes, we're going to get the distribution of wealth as such. I mean, I have high hopes for the future. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a miserable bloke, but you know, I've watched all these conspiracies for many years. Or not only conspiracies, truth get whittled down to make out it's a conspiracy and so forth. And so, just to ask you, where do you guys get your information from?
That's accrued over a very long time and a lot of sources, and so there is a lot of timelines involved, and you do have to know and follow the timelines. I'm probably going to be vague here and not give you anything specific. Is what you're.
I know about the timelines, Q timelines, and so forth. I've delved into them in great detail. But yeah.
So the most quantum timeline, which you may have heard me say, Andrew, because you've been in the Monday night ones, is having clarity that we've come to the end of the age of Pisces, and we're at the 3rd trimester of Pluto since the Magna Carta. So we're birthing now the age of Aquarius. And so the onus really is largely on humanity to architect and navigate this. And that's why we write the grand juries and put law into place, have it written down, because we didn't actually have any law before that. We didn't have any law that said, as a corporation, we're going to hold you accountable the whole way along, from who created the AI, all through the distribution line, and who employs the AI, as to what that AI can do to humanity. We're going to hold you accountable for that. And that's not really been there. We've been only sort of on the receiving end all the time, as we've encountered all these new AIs that have only been around maybe 10 years or something like that. And people spend a lot of time getting up in arms about them and not actually writing stuff. So as we architect forward, we can write stuff in, like in our 12th, I think, grand jury, you might have heard me say, we wrote in that Services Australia would need to give $10,000 per person into their bank account. Did you hear me say that ever before?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So, you know, if humanity doesn't show up and start using that law that we wrote into place, and like, don't get me wrong, we do full on work in the background to follow up these things as well. Like, it's massively time consuming. But by humanity knowing that that's sitting there and that it can be called upon, that's when it actually starts getting life breathed into it and actually becomes our new framework and architecture to call upon that which we have written, and to be able to talk to the people that you're paying your bills to right now and say, no, I understand I was made the debtor incorrectly and now I'm actually the creditor. And how do I do that? And how do I navigate that? So you're starting to save yourself money just in that way. We're kind of paralleling along this quantum landscape that's being exploded on the real big level by the military to take out that whole Rothschild's banking system, and then the new QFS to go in, and whatever they've got in the background to disperse resources and everything. But at the end of the day, as I think you would have heard me say, humanity cannot just be sitting there and be passive anymore and be on the receiving end of things. Humanity has to know, where's all the bookwork for this resource, you know, the water and the electricity, and why can't we all see the bookwork really clearly? And why do we all have a personal bill? Why are we wasting all these resources, employing all these people to give us all a personal bill instead of it all paid for already? That frees up your time, it frees up your pocket, and you're still free to then go and enjoy your life and just trade your regular business and have your family and so forth. All these things are entrapments upon us. And the consciousness of humanity has to step into freeing itself from these types of entrapments by rejigging itself and saying, yeah, I've got inherent right to resources. I shouldn't be paying for that. We already own that. It's ours to begin with, and then we paid for the buildings that get it here. But there are definitely lots of you know, different types of feeds of different levels of intel and stuff, with timelines unfolding as well as revelation. And
sometimes, well, Leith,
Thank you.
I think some people have to make a stand. You have to have people that make a stand in the group so that people can follow, because not everybody's a leader.
No, that's right.
That's right. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Just I mean, run through what you've put in orders, and let's say the last one or two, and show people how to find them.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could do that, just do a quick screen there so that the people that are here can know how to work your website. I mean, just give us a, rather than this is here, give us a comprehension of how to find things for ourselves.
Okay, sure. Okay, so some of the tools, and I'll get it up. Some of the tools available are, as I showed you, Crown Jurisdiction, to put that into place. If you had a court matter or any matter where you were feeling overwhelmed by the pink circle, which is a system that's put into place without transparency, you can come here and do a notice of divine special appearance. If you're going to court, for example, you would file that into the court with your affidavit before you went. How you would uphold that would be dependent upon your level of consciousness, and you might have to get further help for that. And I would say that just about anybody would need to get further help to be able to uphold that in a courtroom. But again, this system is being overhauled. These individuals practicing the private legal system are not going to be permitted to continue the private legal system. They do have to step into law, because we hold accountability for it. Humanity holds accountability for stepping into law. You can put an order in here. If there's something passing through Parliament or something that you don't like, you can put it into here, and it'll show up on the Gazette, and it can come through a grand jury. But as I speak about everything growing in the background and getting organized, we've really only just determined that if an order comes through here, it needs to go through a common law court first, and then that common law court has to be the one that dissects it and puts it together as a good paper to make sure that it's been addressed. Because if you look at, just as an example, something like this is a 98-page thesis of why virology should be shut down. Well, that just can't land in our lap, and we're going to be able to deal with that. So, you know, humanity has to get involved and has to help and has to be responsible for the funneling through of what's coming, and if it gets into the grand jury. So like this common law court, which is on the Central Coast, they'll be the ones that have to dissect all of this and put together a decent statement that then could come as a condensed body of knowledge to the grand jury, and the grand jury could vote on it. Otherwise things would be unmanageable. But for sure you can do things like that. If I show you probably our biggest form has been the injury form, because so many people.
Stop there a second, Leith. How could a group of 12 or 13 a council, is it not? A group of 13 make a common law themselves? A group.
How could they?
Yes.
Oh yeah, well, you know, you'd be smart to speak to some of the conveners of the current common laws. They'd get you sorted out very quickly.
Yes.
So you could speak to
a search on common law groups in Australia, and then speaking to various common law groups to see how they'd set themselves up, and then you could set yourselves up as a common law group and set up in your own area. And you would only need what, 12 or 13 for a council? Yes. Yeah. All right. So everybody knows, and anybody's watching this in the future, I'm just trying to give them a comprehension of how they could do that in the future.
Yes, and my
roles, isn't there? Like 10 or so.
So my recommendation would be to go to Mandy, who's the convener of the Sovereign People's Assembly here in Perth. And they are organised to run the protocols for the sheriffs, so that the sheriffs of common law are accountable to some body of people. So all of the sheriff's conduct is accountable to the Assembly of the Sovereign People's Assembly, which is on general at the meetings is about 70 people. That happens every 3 weeks. And so Mandy just wrote her, her first or second or third order quite recently, and it was such a good one for a national level that we put it through the grand jury. But obviously a lot of stuff coming through common law courts is going to be relative to your area. This park's being sprayed or whatever is going on in your local area, this building's being used or not used, or can we use it, or whatever's happening in your local area to become that common law council. Also the sovereign, the SPA, I'll call it SPA, Sovereign People's Assembly, they have been practicing for a good number of weeks now in terms of getting an actual common law court up and running with all its jurors and adjudicators and all the moving parts. And they do videos of it. So any assembly that wanted to join, to mimic all of that, you'd be able to do it. They've done a lot of great work. This is just
from your site. We could get that information, or is that something you could?
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll find it in a second. When it clicks away from me, I'll find you the link in a second. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
This, for example, I'll just digress while it's up. This is where you would register an injury if you were injured by a corporation. And if we look in the Gazette, because we've all been so terribly injured, there's a significant number. Now, what happens with that really is that it's just in the public record then with a date and maybe an injury amount assigned to it. And then it's at least out in the open and recorded. And what goes on from that point, because it's so extreme. Well, for example, SPA is running, their first case is actually going to be on the vaccine injury. So it'll pull in a lot of maybe people from here and create precedences of what compensation might be for the injury incurred from the pandemic, which is vast. Obviously, there's loss of business, loss of job, injury, and death. So it's very big and full on in terms of us re-navigating the landscape. So you can see there's already been.
But I mean, an injury could be any fine or anything from a corporate system that's in place at the moment. And you've got to comprehend that everything is a corporate system that you're in place at the moment. Police, councils, government, everything is corporate.
That's right. And so there's 243 people, for example, that have done that one, used that facility to just timestamp it. And if I go back into my own history, why did we start growing this site? Because a decade ago, when I had many of my own matters and all the amazing papers that were getting written and so forth, they were just sitting in my computer and people couldn't see and use them to learn and follow due process and so forth. So we couldn't have that continue. We couldn't have it where humanity had nowhere to go to record its stuff. Right. And then also, as we continue to organize as well, we help the assemblies get organized. And, we have also, I'll show you here, the press release section. So you would find on here things like, we said no to the WHO 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, you're out. No, you can't come here with your agenda. That's there. In the, we did an extraordinary grand jury, and in the 7th and 8th grand juries, we separated out the Warlpiri tribe jurisdiction, and which really stems off into all First Nation jurisdictions. So this is a Gazette of Warlpiri tribe in Central Desert stating very clearly that they do not come under the jurisdiction of the colonials, and that no matters may be processed through their courts, and they may not assume to have capacity to rule over them. So in the work that we've done in this past year, we kind of, assist to develop their psychology, and they assist us to develop our psychology, because we don't have any law here, and everything is just a violent experience, and we have to be able to craft into the future what is the amnesty that needs to happen for every colonial, for example, every colonial that's here on this land in a house that's built their life here, but the land is stolen. There's no treaty, there's nothing. There's quite a debacle, right? So we stay in conversation with them and develop those types of dialogues around what's going to happen, what are we going to do, those types of things. What else would I show you on the site? So yeah, you can, so we gazette major events. We do PAF roll papers now, which is to extract out some of the more pertinent orders. There's 230 of them, so there's a lot. We've done a lot of stuff, and we're going to do lots more PAF roll papers now coming, because there's going to be a huge injection of a shift of consciousness. Pluto's about to go forward on the 9th. And that's really significant. Pluto is our outer orb and runs a lot of what is going on. I'll show you something really interesting astrologically, but open the floor for a minute, unless someone, do you want me to do something else, Andy? I'm going to grab a bit of astrology.
I'd love to comprehend a bit of astrology from what you know, and
okay.
If you could give us a bit of astrology that's happened in the past that has proved to be true, and then so that people can get a comprehension of why you feel astrology is very strong in your mind, and help them comprehend why it should make sense.
Okay, so I'm a professional astrologist, just let me say. I'm a long-term reader, you know. Astrology is the engine room behind consciousness. There is something running consciousness, and it's astrology. So you need to comprehend that there's an engine room there, and that's it. And I'll show you this one. So this is related to, hold on, let me change screens. This is related to the financial system that we were just talking about. So I'll show you. Right, so in 2008, Pluto went into 0 degrees of Capricorn, right? 2008 here, January 2008. And what happened in 2008 is Pluto, which is plutonic, blew stuff up. It blew up the power structure that's been running the planet, the pink circle. It blew it up. Right there with the global financial crisis. As soon as it entered, it just went, no, you're fraud, you're slavery, we won't tolerate this. So this is running the outer rim of the consciousness of humanity. You've got to appreciate it like that. So, right, so as it's moving, it's doing stuff. Did someone want something?
No, the dog barked, sorry.
Okay. Right, so 15 years later, where we're up to now, which was 27 degrees of Pluto in Capricorn in July. Now, when we get to March 2023, which is not very far away, October, November, December, January, February, March, 6 months, Pluto will enter Aquarius. So if you know the timelines of the financial system, like for example, this past week, the Reserve Bank of Australia that runs everything, financially declared itself to be $12 billion in deficit. So it's insolvent. And just like any insolvent entity, it should be disappearing at that point in time as being insolvent and can't continue to trade. But in this quite whimsical article, it says, oh, you know, but it's not like other banks. It can just print money. Well, we know, of course, one thing, that whole system's been shut down because it's the Rothschilds banking system. And no, you can't just print money, because that's called slavery. So in this where you've privately owned currency, printing money however you want and driving inflation, that's what inflation is, flooding the marketplace with more money. That's what inflation is. So that's why when the gold-backed currency system comes onto the market, which is unfolding all the time, bit by bit, it's got to be all gold-backed or asset-backed, which means every dollar moving has to be assigned by a crypto equivalent to like a crypto to the movement of a real asset. It can't just be made up out of nowhere. And so if we've had this traveling through Capricorn for 15 years and it's going to change to Aquarius, and we're this close to the end of the restructuring of the financial system, we would be logically saying, would we be taking this corrupted, broken, ugly system with us into the next part of Pluto's movement, which is the restructuring of Aquarius. And we say, no, God, no, of course not.
And that sort of lands with what they're talking about in the Sarah Jisara, the gold-backed currency. They're talking about it hitting March next year.
Yeah, if not before, you know.
Exactly with what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's maybe even before. And that's why at the same time as what we call the public servants, the military, undoing this whole system, we as a humanity have to be consciously moving forward at the same time and showing up and architecting. That's why we do the grand juries and holding accountability to law, because the pink circle has been us deemed incompetent and under guardianship. So the only thing that we have to do is stand up and become competent in a system of law, not inside a private legal system. Does that make sense to people? That's a really critical distinction. I'm just going to put my, does that make sense to people?
Oh, yeah.
I just said, right? We can't be left in the hands of the public servants, which are the military. Wonderful. Thank you for everything you've done. Obviously, as a humanity, we could not have done that part, but we have a job. And the job is that you have to turn up and be competent in law and manage your resources appropriately to do that. So
what everybody's got to sort of comprehend is that your assets are in this planet. Whether it's planet, whether it's flat, I don't care. There are assets. Everybody equally has a proportion in this world, and you are the executive beneficiary of that. Well, then the executor is the one that tells the trustee how they want to live. So, you know, and the figures are just immense. They're just ridiculous. You cannot appreciate. Everything in this world is prepaid, technically. So if you go to a car yard, you should just want to pick the keys up for a car. If you want a house, then you should better go and pick up the keys for the house. Not 3 houses, not 10 houses, 1 car, 1 house, 1 living, you know, and you grow your own food. That's how it should be. There is so many assets in this world that the whole system has screwed us to such a degree, it's just not funny. They've changed slavery from being, you've got a house and you got your food, to, oh, you get this amount of money. Well, if they can print the money, you're still a frigging slave. Hello?
yeah, but having a currency that's owned by the people is completely different. That is completely fine. And the QFS coming through is owned by the people, owned by the assets of each country. However, there is still obviously someone that's got their hands on the controls. That is the one thing to never lose sight of. And so there are other systems in the background that will parallel to that. And your own, I mean, exactly, Andy, you sound like you've got such a great life there with all your food out the front door. So if any currency system just collapsed, you're not going to have a problem eating. And that's where, you know, ultimately we all need to be, whether it be that we've now redesigned our local communities that along all the street lines are, you know, potatoes and oranges. And I mean, there's just no need for it to be the way that it is. Who knows that Coles, the biggest shareholder in Coles is Vanguard, which is BlackRock.
BlackRock actually filed for bankruptcy yesterday.
I believe that was only one part of it. I don't
comprehend how, because they've just got so many assets. So I've sort of put it to the back burner. I've saved the details, but trying to work that one out myself, to be honest, it doesn't make sense.
Well, they're a full monopoly, and in, you know, in economics, in law, we're not allowed to have monopolies, and yet we have a very big global monopoly called BlackRock that owns pretty much everything. All right, I'll just show you this one. This is an interesting one. Kurt, you've seen this one before. This is the alignment of Pluto. Every 248 years, it creates a major shift. So here they're all lined up. If I look at this at 1297, which is really seems the obvious point for Unum Sanctum to come into place, 1302, where rule of law, all equal before the law, was shut down again, and we went into the private trust that we're into right up until this day, even though it's all getting exploded. And everyone here learning about what we're talking about today is part of the explosion and part of the renavigation of the management of resources. So here it is back here, for example, at 1297 at 16 degrees of, oh, surprise, surprise, Aquarius, which is, you know, where we're heading into the age of Aquarius. And then when it does its next cycle, we're at 1535. Well, what happened to 1535?
Sorry.
We went into the poor laws. The poor laws started here, 1535. And then interestingly, in 1541 was the beginning of the bar, the legal bar system. So that's living inside the poor laws, managing all the resources. And this is all inside Unum Sanctum. So there you are, you're now at least 3 layers deep. Then at the next one, we have the 1776 Declaration of Independence, where humanity thinks it's free, but it's not really. It gets taken back over very quickly. And now we're here. So if at this point we had celebrated 1776 Declaration of Independence, or humanity, you know, in the US is free. But if astrologically you were looking at it, you would be saying, no, there's one more Pluto cycle to go until we're at 3 trimesters and we're lined up with the Pisces age ending and the Aquarian age beginning. So we've birthed it 3 trimesters into the Aquarian age. Does that make sense? Because the macrocosm is the same as the microcosm. Everything is a macrocosm and everything is a microcosm, right? Everything is a reflection of itself, because we all came from the one place and we're all going back to the same place. Does that make sense?
So macronism and micronism, can you explain those 2 words? Because I've never heard them before.
Macrocosm and a microcosm.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same. It's like if you were looking at the health on your body, you might say, oh God, I feel like crap. But you could measure your health in your eyes and we would see you had an ailment in your feet, and we would see you had an ailment in your fingernails, and we would see you had an ailment on your tongue. Everywhere, your body is just projecting at you in so many different ways. You're sick, you have a disease, you know, it's going to show up everywhere. If you went to professionals in those fields, they'd be able to spot it and go, oh, you've got this or you've got that. So that's those little microsystems in your body are microcosms of this body macrocosm. So of course there must be macrocosms beyond the body. Beyond the body is its own auric field, which in its own right might be super healthy or might be super polluted and ailing and show up some big hole in the auric field that says, you know, you've got a massive hole coming out of one of your chakras, and so therefore you've got some horrible disease attached to you. But then also beyond that, we have the macrocosm of the ecosystem and the macrocosm of the cosmos and the macrocosm of the entire thinking field and heart space. So the system that has been running everything has been controlling and manipulating the thinking space and the heart space to serve it, and drives us to be in conflict with each other instead of in love with each other. So that conflict comes from a scarcity of resources. If you take away resources, you immediately begin a mental health problem, which then fuels domestic violence, which fuels thieving, criminal behavior, because people need resources. If you give everybody everything they need, there will be no crime. And that's where we're heading to. And they don't want that to happen, but we've already won. So get on board and feel good, and it's okay, and just keep walking that pathway that it's done. This is what is happening. Live that vibrational frequency. Don't live in a vibrational frequency of it's all messy and screwed and how are we ever going to get out of this? We're walking out of it day by day, every single day.
It's just everybody put your hand up if you feel happy. Doing that.
If you feel happy. Do people get that?
Yeah, I was looking for the comprehension of the word macronism and the other one you used.
Well, did you get it?
I've never heard those words before.
Oh, well, did you get it, Andy?
Yeah, I got it. I just don't know what the words mean. I'm going to go look at them. I need spellings.
It's like
Technology online.
fractal realities.
That's
D, that dropped out.
No, that's really
It's like the fractal realities, you know, the
Fibonacci.
Yeah, the Fibonacci. It's just a repeat of the same pattern all the way.
Yeah.
Until it's massive.
And of course, that's what the health industry is. And that's what all the ancient sciences have known. And that's why when the Rothschilds banking system came into play in 1913, the implementation of a privately owned currency system, how they got everyone into debt to it was obviously they started a war in 1914, so that, you know, the whole world was in uproar and going into debt to them. And they also did the health mandate of synthetic health in 1914 and started putting up barriers against natural health. And of course, that's been a very long ongoing landscape for anyone that did anything revolutionary to solve cancer really quickly or anything. You know, they were shut down in a blink of an eye, maybe jailed, maybe assassinated, had their practice closed, bombarded. You know, I mean, folks surely know those types of stories.
Killed.
Yep.
And you know, we've had the epitome of it in this COVID, where every doctor that was registered into APRA, which lives all inside that pink circle, suddenly discovered that their mortgage and their paycheck and all the bills that pay their practice and all their employees is tied into what APRA says. So humanity let that slip on by architecture, that something like APRA would get itself to the capacity of having such a loud voice and such an entanglement with everybody that natural health, ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, could get banned, and you could be forced to have the COVID vaccine as the only source of remedy, allegedly, to this alleged virus, when in fact really what it was injecting, you know, a bioweapon so that they can transmit through you.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's so many elements of it, and why we have to bring back natural health. Natural health will be the one that helps people that are injured with from the vaccine, for sure. So you've got to go down to those protocols of cleansing it all out, getting it out.
How do you feel about that, Kath, being someone that's teaching people? You're teaching continuously nursing to young nurses, and being forced in a system that is still using the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers petroleum-based drugs.
I'm not teaching professionals. I'm teaching, well, they're professional, sorry, but they're not university level. I'm teaching vet level. Well, they used to be called AIN. So I tell them that I have to teach you what the medical system is, but I will tell you what the natural remedy is. So there is always a remedy. And so I do the same with the law. I go through the whole hierarchy of law, starting with God and natural law and equity, and then common law and the Commonwealth, I mean, you know, the UK Parliament, and then the Commonwealth Constitution, and how it's not real now. We've got paper stuff, it's all commerce. And so I have this, I have a duality there that I have to explain the way it's said in the syllabus, but then I tell them the truth. So it's very interesting. It's a bit of a platform, actually. So yeah, some people get it, and some people go, oh my God, she's made me feel so scared because she's told me masks don't work.
Go on, Dee, put your hand up. Dee, you put your hand up. Did you want
Sorry.
I thought you put your hand up. I thought you raised your physical.
Oh no. I was saying well done to Kath.
Yeah. No, that's good. Has anybody any questions for Leith or Dee or myself? Any questions out there?
I'd like to know where we can get a consultation for astrology from you, Leith. I haven't had one done for a long time.
You can go to leithmastersastrologist.life and send me an email. Yeah.
You want to pop that in the chat, Leith, just in case people didn't write that down as you were saying it?
I just wrote it down.
Did you? Would you put it in the chat, man? Save her a job.
Oh, you did?
I had to record it for myself.
There you go. Yeah.
Beautiful. Hey, I don't know how everybody feels. If there's a lot more questions, or if anybody's got any queries, please throw them out there now.
I'm utterly confused, but that's quite a normal state for me anyhow, so it doesn't matter.
You're wonderful. We have got to come down and visit your caravan park. Anybody in Victoria that needs to go to a caravan park in Lake Bolac,
Or Black
give
Salt,
me
I
a
think.
shout. We'll make a weekend of it, and we'll go and scare the life out of them.
You do that. You're always welcome.
I've got another question, if I may.
Yeah, go for it, Andrew.
Yep. In terms of people dealing with the tax office, now they're bringing in the new digital ID for directors, and I have a lot of people asking me this question, and I'm trying to find out for people. I did invite a few people onto this Zoom tonight, but they haven't been able to get on. So, but in terms of the new director IDs, I understand this is a stepping stone to complete digital ID and take away more of our rights by giving them permission without knowing that. But how can we help people in order to stop, if they have signed up for the digital ID? How can we undo that if there's a way?
Can I? Yeah, go on. Next one. Someone first.
Yep, and then on the second part, if you haven't signed up for the digital ID, for the director's ID, what can we do in order to get the businesses in the clear, like their businesses? How can they take it out from a company to, let's say, operating in a trust?
Okay, we used to run a partnership and we run a limited business. Okay, we moved both of those into a foundation, which is in the private. So basically, we wrote our articles of association, which were about us helping the industry we were in and educating them. And it's very important to educate them because that is the key part of being a foundation. So everybody that walks in my door, I will educate them in some way or form. And I might not even realize I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. Yeah. And everybody in business would be educating people in some way or form. I don't care what it is, whether you're walking into a hardware store, whether you're walking into a hairdresser's, whether you're walking into, I don't care what business it is. Everybody that is in the business, that is doing that business, would have some knowledge to be able to educate someone that comes in the door in some way, form, or shape. Whether it's a percent of what you give, or whether it's 99% of what you give, or whether it's 100% of what you give, it is always education. So you can all be foundations. Foundations are in the private. Don't register, don't connect with the business at all. Below that, or the best way to do it is put your trust above it and make your foundation the beneficiary. So you can be the trustee of your trust. Your trust owns everything. You own nothing. You run the foundation, which is the beneficiary. The beneficiary is the foundation. The foundation then gives you a sustenance. Okay, so the sustenance is everything you need in life. Everything you need in life. Whether it's a new car, whether it's food on the table, whether it's a pouch of tobacco, whether it's a drink at the pub, whether it's whatever it is, it gives you sustenance. So if you set your business up that you're the trustee of the trust and your foundation is the beneficiary, and the beneficiary of the foundation, the people in the foundation are then given a sustenance, you have basically put yourself completely in the private. They can't look at it. You get tax office forms that say you fill them in and you are exempt from doing BAS statements, you're exempt from doing tax returns, and it says at the bottom of the form, do not return this to the tax office. Do you know why? Because you're in the frigging private. So you've got to get yourselves out of this ABN bullshit, this limited business, this P, whatever you want to call them, PTYs, everything like that. Get yourselves out. Get yourself a trust. get yourself a foundation and start running everything you do under that. And the more people that do that, the less that they get out of it. You know, so just think about how to do these things. And if you've got clients coming in your doors all the time, you start a PMA. And a PMA is a private members association. Under a private members association, you can make your own bylaws. So your bylaws can be, no one can wear a mask. How about that one? Everybody can come in freely once they've paid their $1 membership. Yeah, and they can buy from me whenever they want. So there's so many ways out of this equation. You've just got to look for how to be in the private rather than outside the pink circle, rather than inside the pink circle. Yeah, Leith showed you the pink circle. Get out of it. Move yourself outside of it and get on with it. Carry on doing exactly what you're doing now and educate people around you.
And so just for the people that aren't educated as such, in terms of if they've already locked into their director's ID and of course get into a foundation, or get into a foundation, it just pretty much makes all of that null and void.
Yep.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You got public in the circle. Yeah.
Yep.
In the public. In the private, it's private.
You're a custodian in a foundation. You're a custodian, not a director.
Yep. Okay. Thank you so much, guys.
And just be mindful.
If you can't do that yourself, Andrew, I can put you in touch with people that can set foundations and stuff up for you. If you're pretty switched on yourself and you're willing to learn.
I already have it. Yeah, but I already have a trust, a sovereign trust, and set up with the PPSR, which is registered with the government PPSR, and I have a bank account and so forth. So my trust is already operating, but I do have to set up a foundation.
Who was your trust set up by?
My trust letter from my sole trust. In terms of where it was set up.
No, I asked you who set it up.
Oh, a friend of mine named Anthony Violi.
So it's private?
Yes, it's private.
Beautiful. Okay, so you've got to make sure that it is private. So it
is private, ABN free.
And it's done by enough people to make it stand in, you know, and if you ever end up in court, then you never talk about it other than the trust deed. The trust deed is the only document you can show to say you have a trust. And other than that, it's private. So the judge needs to take his tape off, take you in the back room or clear everybody outside before he comes in. All right, before he can talk about it, because it is private. It is private, private.
That's correct.
All right, just remember that.
Excellent.
Foundation, trusts are private.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the journey and learning how to use it correctly and to the maximum benefit for myself, my family. So, excellent. Thank you, Andy.
Just be mindful, Andrew, that one of the distinctions has been that because it has been a privately owned financial system, that access to any of that financial system has only been able to come through an ABN entity. And so that's one of the drawbacks of foundations. Have you found anything around that, Andy?
Oh, we've not got a card machine at the moment, but everybody's got a mobile phone and can make a bank transfer. So
no, but I'm saying if you wanted to go and get a loan for a house, for example, so you want to keep all your bookwork in check, but generally if you wanted to take out a loan from a bank right up until this point where we're going through this crossover, but up until this point, the money's always been had to be inside an ABN driven entity. So as soon as you step away from having an ABN driven entity, then the bank's not going to be able to see you, right? You're not going to be on the same wavelength, so to speak. So that's something to be mindful of when making these types of moves. You have to think through, how will that affect my life?
Yeah, look, as I mentioned the other night, it's basically is basically still being in the system, using the system to our maximum benefit, but being private in the system instead of rejecting the system, not having rego and insurances and licenses and so forth, and becoming completely sovereign and then having to fight every day, you know, with the cops and with everyone else for that matter.
That's
But
right.
yeah, but it's a matter of just being undercover in the undercover sovereign in the financial system. That's and hence why I started my company. But now they're bringing in this company director. I'm going to have to start operating in the foundation, as you say. So I'll get that sorted. But thank you very much. I'll get some information off you, Andy, on who to speak to as well. Thank you.
I think Andy just walked away.
Yes.
It's into the dogs.
That's fine. But okay, and Leith, do you have anything on your website that helps people set up like trusts and foundations, or do you refer them to others to help them?
We refer them to others, but we are shortly to put up a bunch of stuff because we have pretty progressed processes in relation to quite a number of entities that it's only sort of fair and helpful for folks to see those processes. We will put up the foundation stuff. It's very simple, and I should have done it a long time ago because I've said it quite a few times. But yeah, I mean, you know, essentially there's those three things, which I think you've heard me say, Andrew, have you? The bank account, the articles of association, and the statement by supplier, which is already, I see in the feed. Yes, that statement by supplier is the one that helps you avoid GST obligation. Yeah, you're just not simply in that reality. So so that's the foundations of a foundation. Three things.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, you might remember Chris from last week, Chris Menzies. He's just turned up at my place. He's on his way through to see his daughter. This is the weatherman.
Hi, weatherman.
That's it. Hey, Chris.
I just brought 5,000 oysters for him as well.
Yeah, bloody oath. I've just got a pile of oysters. I can't believe it. I'm so lucky. Sustenance.
Oh, damn, what a drive.
Oh, I can imagine. So, any other questions out there?
I just had a question on maybe there is some assistance available setting up trust in the foundation. I approached Solution Empowerments, but I sort of got stuck with them a little bit. They wanted $1,600 to set up a trust. Now at the moment I'm a bit tight with money, so not sure if there is anything out there to assist to progress that without having to bring up another $1,400.
And have you got someone that does trusts for you?
No, so I'm looking at the moment to sort of help.
I was asking Andy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, you're talking about Mark. I can't think what his surname is.
Havoc, yeah.
Yeah. So Mark, there's Jason Strong. Brody's actually done a few trusts as well here. So I mean, whether I could put you on to him and he starts doing some himself. Ron in the room as well. Ron, I don't want you to unmute a minute, mate. Whether you have any ability to offer people trusts. He might not be listening. He might just be.
Not in.
Is that
Not
the Ron I'm
in.
thinking it is? Is that Ron? I don't know. I've only got Ron and I'm not seeing his
Ron
picture.
from Tasmania.
Yeah, is it Ron from Tasmania or is it just another Ron? He's not talking. Look, I mean, Kurt, you've got our email address through Wimmera Law Guide.
Yes.
Pop us an email and
Okay.
see what we can assist.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All good. Any other questions for the night?
I have a question. I just want to know how people are feeling about the landscape. Like, are people feeling positive? Are they feeling overwhelmed? Do people think that we're on our way to somewhere better? Are people feeling really down and out and bummed? Or What are people feeling?
I know for my part, I'm busy creating. So
Can I say something?
Right.
And then I'll put the camera on again. Where are we? Where's the camera? There we are. I think they're way ahead of us.
Who's they?
Whoever's
Who
running the
you
show.
Who are you referring to? Oh yeah, yep, okay, yeah.
And I think we should be aware of that. And I think we need to take a lot of more stuff much more serious. I think we need to get into food growing much more serious. We need to get into self-sufficiency much more serious. Community groups much more serious. They didn't massacre 20 million people from the communists just overnight.
Yeah.
It can happen again. You know, the jab is maybe just an experiment to see what's happening. They might have other things up their sleeve too. It doesn't take much for China to walk into Australia.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Seen some documents with
No, I don't think we can just hope that the astrology and all of that is going to save us.
Oh no, we're not just dealing with the astrology.
No, but it's look, you know, who knows what influence it has. I mean, I've looked into biodynamics and things like that, so yeah, sure. But I think we need to be aware, obviously, that this hasn't been just an overnight thing for them.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit sad that people have drawn back a bit and gone back into their own lives, and I understand that because we've all been used to being in our own lives, because the immediate threat wasn't upon us the last couple of months. And there do seem to be some good things happening, that they do seem to be losing some control. But I think we really need to step up the mark if we're going to get through this. That's my feeling, anyhow.
Okay.
But we have the law. There's nothing more.
Yeah, I think we need to learn all that.
Yeah. There's nothing more superior.
But you know, despite the law and everything, where did the law help those who starved in Ukraine and ate their own children?
Well,
Exactly.
You know, they can just march in and do what they want. I mean, it didn't. Where was the law when the communists murdered, starved 20 million people of their own?
well, nobody
Where was the law? It was Pol
in the
Pot.
real
You know,
law.
I think we need to be a bit more realistic. That there might be a bit more that we need to get ready.
We need to enforce the law. That's the thing that we need to do.
But even if you enforce the law, where was the law for those people who were killed by the communists?
Well, it wasn't.
I mean, I'm sure
nobody
they
was
had laws.
enforcing it. We were all in the slave system. We have to learn our rights, and we have to actually.
Yeah, do you think they cared about their rights with the communists when they starved those people to death?
No, they don't care about us, and that's one of the great things that we know now. They don't care about us, and therefore we have to care about ourselves, and we have to learn the law, and we have to be competent.
We need to be aware that, you know, we can't get too airy-fairy about all this. We can't get too hopeful about all this. I think we can be hopeful if we prepare ourselves a bit more. And I think preparing ourselves a bit more includes getting much more serious with getting community groups together, knowing what we've got for each other. It's great work what you're doing, but I just feel
lots
that
of people
there's
are
a
doing
bit
great
more,
work.
I just don't want to be too hopeful too early.
Yeah.
And then think it's all going to go rosy. I think we need to be much more prepared for it to go rosy.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think it's an ongoing landscape of that. You know, it's totally ongoing. We do grand juries every month. We see all the assemblies getting organized. There's a lot of people doing a lot of good stuff. Definitely.
Yeah, that's good. But
Yeah.
I
Also,
still
if I
think,
may say something else,
if you look at
sorry.
history, are we really fooling ourselves?
May I say something else, if I may? Look, I mean, we're moving into a new chapter You know, as Letha said, we are really, our people are becoming conscious of our rights, of our freedoms, of the tyranny that's been above us for so long. You know, a pure example of that was the march in Melbourne, in Canberra back in April, where we had 1.4 estimated 1.4 million people and another 800,000 people in the camp. You know, I mean, that we stood up. And,
Yeah, that's right.
but hold on. But what I'm saying is this: that in communist countries, when massacres have occurred, there wasn't the communication, there wasn't the knowledge, there wasn't the consciousness that we have today. Okay, and if a police officer kills somebody, you know, back then, back in the communist countries, it's not a good representation. I understand what you're saying. Yes, we need to be prepared. There are all forms of evil that will try to not let go of the system, okay, including the police, which they use their weapons on us in Canberra, okay, and thousands of people got burnt by these weapons, you know, and it destroyed the movement. But at the same time, it's been regathering. What I'm seeing is the thousands of people that were in Canberra, you know, are regathering, are coming together stronger. And the next fight will be if anyone starts to get killed or anything like that starts to happen, there will be consequences. There are men and women willing to stand up and fight now. Whereas in those communist countries, they took away all those rights.
Well, that's good to hear, but I don't know where those people are. I mean,
well, they're in every city, in every town in Australia.
Yeah.
This is why we're having these meetings. I mean, look, just the fact that we're having these meetings, some of these meetings are 150, 200 people. Some of these meetings are 5 people, but just one person makes a difference in every town. And the more people that wake up.
Elsie, you're one yourself.
Oh, yes, definitely. Sorry?
You're one yourself. You're one that stands up. You're one that thinks that's You're one that.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is, I think there's a lot more we need to do to secure ourselves. This is good what we're doing, but I fear that, I don't know. I think we need more contacts.
Can I just say, you know, like, I'm not vaccinated. I didn't get into the whole scenario. I just sidestepped it. Now, that tells me from the very beginning that they've not got more power than us.
Mm.
We have got the power. We are in control. If we were living in a communist regime, we would have been carted off to the quarantine camps and we would have been made to have the vaccines or whatever. But there's a lot of people that have just sidestepped the vaccine and just said no. So, you know, you have to actually weigh it up in relation to, you can't weigh it up in relation to issue. We're actually breaking through. We are breaking through. They haven't got as much power. Everything's falling down for them. And that's what we have to believe in our hearts so that we can stay strong and actually keep using the law, which is to say no, we're not going to join all these regimes that you're putting in front of our faces to sign. They haven't got that power. You're making it you're making it big in your own mind.
Can you prove that?
Well, it's a consciousness thing, you know. It's like I don't have to prove it.
I don't believe this in consciousness thing. I want to see proof. I want to see it in front of my eyes. I want to be talking to
all the
people
time.
who
I
are
am proof. I didn't get the vaccine, and I am proof that
that's fine. Yeah, you
haven't got that superpower over me that you're, you know, working with.
I'm working with.
Yeah, that's what's driving you. It's
driving me.
It's a fear drive.
That's not driving me. I'm just aware that there might be more that we have to do.
Oh yeah, I'm all for that. You know, everybody's waking up in all their different ways, but they've lost power, and we are right on the precipice of breaking through and getting our freedoms back.
I have to agree with you,
No
Dee.
way that they will get away with them. They've gotten away with the COVID. That's going to be a genocide, but there's so many people waking up because of that.
They've got away with a lot of things that you probably still believe.
I believe, I mean, let me give you a quick example. I've been here for 17 years, sitting on the side of a main highway. I've seen 2 to 3 ambulances a week in the whole of that time. In the last 12 months, I've seen 3 to 4 per day. If people aren't waking up to that, then there's something wrong. If people aren't waking up to people dying next door to them, then there's something wrong. Very wrong. If people aren't waking up to me saying, I haven't paid my mortgage for 3.5 years. If people aren't waking up to me saying, I haven't paid my water for 2.5 years. And they've never sent me a demand letter. They've never, ever sent me anything other than a straightforward bill, which I returned to them saying, return to sender, incorrect address. If people aren't waking up to it, then what's wrong?
No, you can see it on the media as well.
Yeah, but they aren't waking up to it enough.
People in the media
They
are going
are.
nuts.
They're waking up slowly. They're not.
Yes, slowly, but I'm just saying we're not.
Andrew, have you got a foundation yet? Have you got a foundation yet? Have you got a trust yet? Have you set yourself up in the private, or are you still paying GST on everything you earn? That's for Norm. I ask you a question. Is Norm paying GST on his labour?
He's not here.
Okay, but is he? You know, you're his wife.
Is he paying GST? Well, every time you go shopping, you're paying GST.
Well, okay, there's a form in the tax office. If you're a foundation, you don't pay it. Your main suppliers, you can supply them a form and you don't pay GST. It's hidden, but it's there.
That's good. I'm not saying there's anything against any of that. I'm just fearful that we may need to group up more than we are.
Well, we are grouping up, Ilse.
We're all working hard.
You asked for we are asked for our opinion, and that's just my fear.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you.
Ilse got a thought for you. The more we manifest what we would like to see, the more this will catch on.
Yeah,
Every good action. Don't see everything in 3D. Let go of your fear as much as possible. Tackle all those traumas. It's a hard slog tackling one's traumas, which we all went through from the day you're born. And this will help. This will literally catch on. If you talk to your neighbor, or you talk to your friends, or you talk to maybe some family members who are still willing to talk to you.
Can I put it this way? Can I put it this way? How practical are we being? What you're saying there, Andy, not pay GST and all the rest of it, but how many veggies are you growing? You know, how practical are we? That's more what I'm thinking of. How much are we backing ourselves up practically? And I mean securing our.
Yeah. Hold on. I mean, you say how practical are we? Okay, so you know, I've got 8 sheep here. I've got to put 2 in the freezer. I haven't got room in the freezer because it's full of pork and beef. Because Mick, you know, supplied me the front end of a cow for nothing. He gave me 3 pigs for nothing. 2 are breeding. 1's in the freezer. You know, if we apply ourselves, then there's plenty of food there. I mean, I've got beans in the freezer from last year, and I've got a flock of beans this year that are going to produce more than I can eat next year. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I'm not just saying for yourself to be self-sufficient. I think we need to be community sufficient. But I'm just saying, how much are we all doing?
Well,
can I just say something here?
I'm doing
yeah,
more.
Look, can I just say something? I'm in suburban Sydney. At present. I grew up on property in Dural in northwest Sydney. Okay, so we grew up growing crops and so forth. I've converted my whole backyard into a garden. So I've got everything. I've got blueberries. I've got the corn growing. We've got beans, snow peas. We've got more than what we can eat. You know, and I'm sharing with my neighbours all the time. Now at the same time, storing. We're doing everything practical. Everyone I know, we help to store, you know, to make sure we've got enough food, not only for ourselves, but for our neighbours who are not awake. You know, we know that if that happens and the time comes, God willing it doesn't, but if it does, then we can still take care of other people and still take care of ourselves. So, you know, and on my community that I run with, a lot of people that were asleep that have been vaccinated are waking up, terribly waking up, you know, to their side effects and so forth. And you know, I'm working with them at many levels, trying to find the right medical, you know, stuff, getting them natural remedies, ZR light to get
them on
metals.
Andreas. Have a look up andreaskalka.com.
Sorry, who.com? Kalka?
Andreas. And Kalka is spelled Kalcker.
We've also got to realise that the weeds we have in our backyard are our food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dandelions are. I've let the dandelions go crazy. It's fantastic. And then when I'm out in the backyard, I actually pick the leaves and munch on them while I'm fixing my garden.
Yeah, that's good.
Many more weeds to have as well. Like there's multiple weeds that we can eat.
Absolutely.
Can I just say something? I agree with Osa. I really do. And maybe we should have a system like they have in the United States of America, where everybody has a machine gun hanging on the wall. Wonderful, because the other people won't go near you. But what else can we do? Either we fight or we don't.
I wish, as I wish.
Yeah, they can shoot me. I don't give a shit.
I got longbows. Don't worry.
Whatever. But
we got longbows. Yeah.
Either we fight or we don't. I fight. That's all. We have to fight.
And we are fighting. We're fighting in our own way. But, you know, I mean, my grandpa always came up with the saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. And to be honest, I see people like Leith D, I see people like Jason, I see people like, you know, Brody, whatever. The pen is very strong. And it takes articulation to use the pen. You don't need to go to force and you only need that in the worst scenario ever. When it really, you know, if the apocalypse really comes to pieces, if your zombies come out of the towns, if the supermarkets completely stop and whatever, yes, you're going to perhaps need to protect yourself. But it's a worst case scenario, guys. It really is. I think we're going to see a slow transition where we're going to be worried, where we're going to be concerned, where we're going to be prepared, and we are prepared, and we may need to share a bit of food with our neighbours. And we may keep a few, you know, sealed bags of rice and whatever, which wouldn't be stupid. It wouldn't be stupid at all. You know, I got 3 20-litre drums the other day, which I was planning to fill with white rice and various stuff and put antioxidants in them. So you know, it's there. And if I have to feed, there'll only be 10 or 15 people left in Pimpernel anyway by the time the jab's all done its job. So, you know, there'll be a lot of empty houses for people to come and move here if they want to come and, you know, live in a beautiful place.
No doubt about it.
There might be a lot of orphans, I think. So I'm going to look after the kids.
And that's you say that, that's very funny. If you go and look at somewhere like Warrnambool, there was a massive building built for children. And it was after the 1920 flu. And all these children had got no parents, nobody to live with. And they built these places out in the country in Victoria from Melbourne. They took the children out to them. And I've spoken to, you know, old people that have bought vans from me that know and have lived in these places and have come to Warrnambool from Melbourne because all their parents had died when I first came here. I sold a couple of vans to people that had lived in that establishment in Warrnambool, and they'd been in that position. And every 100 years they do this to us. This Freemonic system, this satanic system does it. They want to kill you off so they can stay rich. Well, sorry, this time we're too awake. This time we're far too awake. There's far too many of us, far too awake to let this happen again. All right? It ain't going to happen again.
And if we
The
need water,
stars say it.
if we need water, I'll bring it in.
You know, this guy can control the weather. This girl knows the stars. This girl knows how to bloody fix people. You know, etymologically, we know how to grow food. Don't worry. Stop fretting.
Yeah.
We're there. We're so there, it's just not funny.
If we need water, that's not a problem for me. Not a problem.
Awesome.
Can you explain a bit more about that? What do you mean?
Well, did you come on the Zoom last week?
No, I didn't. I didn't know there was
Come to the barbecue and build any weather equipment?
I'm teaching people how to use.
Andy, are you being cynical?
Well,
no, we're not.
I'm not. I'm just saying, if you had, you would.
I was just asking politely what that was about.
I can tell you. I can tell you. It's what I do. I've made devices from Wilhelm Reich, Trevor James Constable. I've learned the technique. I have 4 people that I've been with for 6 years, and we've been bringing rain into Australia for 6 years. We've been stopping cyclones. Whenever they say there's going to be a flood on the East Coast, we're now stopping every single one of them coming in.
That's nice.
And I'm building up more people to have these devices, and they work bloody brilliantly.
We had a team here before the barbecue from 12:30 till 5 o'clock. We had 14 or 15 people here. There's a Zoom that you could share.
I understand that, Andy. I didn't recognize the gentleman sitting next to you.
Oh, this is Chris.
And I thought he was talking about a different way about water. I didn't understand that.
No, I've been bringing water into the south here in Melbourne for people's crops for 6 years. 6 years.
I didn't deny that you didn't. I just thought you were talking about something totally different. It was new to me, so I was just
That's what I'm saying.
asking what it was
No
about.
matter where you are in Australia, I can bring rain to you.
And you know, I've had Zooms years ago with another guy in Horsham that runs a business that actually sells his services to Africa, to countries, complete continents, to bring water in, which are now totally self-sufficient. We brought it in slowly for a start so the crops could grow, so they could build them, and they're doing really well. I think Nigeria is one of them, and they're 25 million, the same as us. You know, and look at them. They took 0.1% of the jab, and look at their figures against ours for death rates. They're at like average death rates. We're at like 20% above almost at the moment. 20% above. That's ridiculous. You know, we're not going to have the neighbours we thought we had. We're going to have a big change. Big change.
Do you mind posting a link to that Zoom, please, Andy, so I can
get it for you and put one up somewhere.
Yeah,
It goes for 3 hours, but it shows a community getting together, making devices to help battle with geoengineering.
One of them's at Nadia's, one's here. Brody's got one. We're going to make 3 or 4 more next time. Chris had just brought us some more equipment. Neil's been involved. Neil, you were sitting there, mate. Pop yourself up for a second. You were walking around the room videoing it. What was it like?
Yeah, that was a bit of a learning curve, hanging onto a phone, doing that. But yeah, that was good.
You've done really well. You've actually I hit you into the video as well, so you can see your action of recording and the workshop. But it was a brilliant day.
Yeah.
For 3 hours explaining what to do, and it's good. I'm gonna show the maps tomorrow and see how we go. But these 2 devices that we're using at the moment from here are actually helping others to combat other areas, why these guys are combating other areas.
These things work for hundreds of kilometers.
Thousands.
I mean, I can't comprehend how ether works. Can you give me a slight insight?
It's mind-boggling. Ether is everywhere. It's through the earth. It's through our bodies. It's through our houses. What we're doing with the ether is we can actually move a whole system left or right. We can move it out of the way if it's too heavy. We're able to manipulate the ether with these devices.
What is ether?
A ether is an electricity that is all around. That's where they get the free. That's where they used to get the free power from.
So that's Nikola Tesla collecting power from the atmosphere.
That's what we play with.
That little bit of plastic and metal and wrapped up and whatever that we built at the weekend is actually controlling the electricity in the atmosphere.
We manipulate it.
Manipulate the atmosphere.
We manipulate it, even up into the stratosphere.
Does it work? Does it go something like positive and negative electrons that attract each other, or
we just earth it out?
We earth the inner tube to the ground. I can tell you, there's two tubes which are insulated from each other inside with a mirror at the end of it. It's called a bazooka, which is quite funny. And Chris gives us direction. We started another Telegram group which is purely for that in this area called Wimmera Weather Watch. Chris watches over the maps, and at the moment, Nadia, how many times have you changed your little pointy thing? Have you got any water going through yours yet? Nadia, tell us what's going on. How's yours going? Yours and Glenn's. I remembered his name. Fucking brilliant.
Hey, I'm well impressed. Well done. I think I've changed it 3 times, and yeah, it's got some water going through it, and yeah, I think it's in the right direction. I don't know.
Yeah. Liz, what is it?
I sit up to about 3 a.m. in the morning and watch maps. So in the morning when these guys get up, I've already put in where they got to point them. And all I have to do is come to the Telegram thing and have a look and go, oh shit, all right, we've got to point that way today. And that's it. Like, and then slowly you work.
We watched the storm the other day, which was off Sydney. We pointed at it. It was a massive red, really dangerous rainstorm coming into Sydney. We pointed out things across there, which I can't remember the setting was 88 degrees, I think, for me, and 90 degrees for you, I think, Nadia. But we pointed it across there. Within 4 hours, this guy had sent me another map with it all broken up. It was the red had all sort of pitted out. It was not anything like it was before. And if I'm responsible for saving people in Sydney from getting flooded,
that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, mate. That's all. I've been doing this for 6 years. Every cyclone that's come into Australia, I've destroyed. So it doesn't pinpoint one place and destroy one whole town. I blow it apart. And the rain goes everywhere else where it's needed. I've been doing this for so long, and I want to teach other people this. So we're another team. We're another team of people that we can bring water into Australia or stop.
Because at the moment, if you watch any maps in Australia, if you've ever looked at the weather maps, they hit it. They've got that many radars on the west coast, and they hit it with the particulates that they leave from planes, and you'll see that all the time. You know, I saw Virgin today drop a line from just north of Horsham, probably backside of Dimboola, and it dropped probably at Matoa. And it just drifted across the sky. And I mapped the plane, and I mapped the time, and I took photographs of it in the air of the start and the end of the chemtrail. They literally just dropped a chemtrail here for Horsham.
And we can get rid of them as well.
And we're going to do that on paperwork as well with Brody. You know, that's the idea. We're going to hit these people. If you can get on your flight tracker, if you see a plane turn and you can watch them, they'll come in and you'll watch them. They'll turn it on, and they'll turn it off. And the chemtrail will be like so long across here in the Wimmera, because I'll specifically aim it for this area, down through the Grampians, because the Grampians is one of the best rain areas in this area. And they try to stop the rain in the Grampians. So they put the particles, which are aluminium and borium in the air, they hit it with the radar from 3 different directions. So it warms the atmosphere, stops the rain. And they're doing it all the bloody time in here, in the Wimmera. And if we can hit them with letters to the companies that are flying over us, and if we can bring the rain in anyway, you know, Chris was responsible for bringing rain into Adelaide when they had the bushfires. He brought it into the back of Adelaide by 8 o'clock next morning. 3 blokes aimed and brought the rain down from Northern Territories up by Uluru, and they brought it down to Adelaide, and it was raining by 8 o'clock the next morning, putting the fires out.
So it was coincidental?
That was there, but you managed to control it.
We controlled it in from the northwest. It came down through the top of Northern Territory, right in the corner, Western Australia. Then this fire started in Adelaide, and by the next morning, it just started raining and put the fire out. So whether someone was watching what we were doing and knew that was coming, we didn't know it was coming. We just knew that when that fire started, this stuff's coming over, and by the morning, we put the fire out. And I've done it in Tasmania as well. I put out fires in Tasmania by moving the ether and bringing up cold fronts. See, when they talk about cold fronts, especially in the south, there's a thing called the Southern Ocean Cyclone. No one was taught this at school. Every front that comes through the south is actually attached to a Southern Ocean cyclone. And they're now bringing those things up into the bight, which that's where we're getting the wind. Any northerly wind that you get, it's all fake, it's man-made. And that was to push the rain away. But we were able to move it back in. Look, I've been even to my daughter's place in the Sea Lake. Everything's green. It's green all the way up into New South Wales. So we've been able to keep this substance coming in. We've been able to stop the intensity. And
you got to look at it like this, Ilse. It's little bits. It's like you put a little peg in here, put a little peg in there, put a little peg in there. Eventually, there's enough pegs for you to climb the wall. Yeah, that's all we're doing. Little pegs.
Well, the guys today were pointing at Western Australia. They're pointing at a.
Oh, you guys were not us. We were,
you know, you're doing something else. That's what I mean. It's so good that someone else is here because then we can concentrate on certain parts and you can do others. So we were pointing at one of the big military bases up in the northwest, and when we done that, it actually brought rain into Indonesia. Then started bringing rain.
You'll be talking about this on Zoom.
It's too late for them. It's too late for them.
There's too many of us. There's too many little pegs in the board.
It's dropping the fear. Have no fear. They can't touch us at all. They can't.
Lee's grinning like a Cheshire cat across there. I can see.
They can't
it's
even.
Very quiet. But
they can't even arrest me for this shit because I know so much about geoengineering. If they want to take me to court, I'll blow them out of the water. I won't need paperwork. I'll come straight from my head. They can't arrest me. But if they do, I'm going to have people all over Australia doing the same shit, and they'll learn exactly what I know and how to do this. So if they do come for me.
So if you think they've been controlling our weather to control our income, to force our farmers into disrepute, they broke farmers in Wimmera years ago. We used to have 780 blocks. All of this was set up after the war. 780 blocks, mile blocks, all of it was. And they broke them by damaging the weather, by damaging it so that they broke them and ended up with big farmers. And then the big farmers get old and the sons don't want to take it on. Corporations come in and take it over. And that's what they've done in America. They've done exactly the same in America. They're ahead of us, all right? They're trying to do it here. If we can keep our farmers going by making sure they can make, you know, good money, because when mud comes into your door, if you're a business, you know it means money, all right? If farmers come in your door with mud in their boots, they're making money. And I'm seeing it this year for definite. You know, we're getting there again. It's good. Good stuff.
They started that in the Mallee too, Andy, but yeah, the rains this year has actually helped stop farmers from selling up.
I drive to my daughter at Sea Lake and I see it, so it's like yes, yes, this is good.
We need to stop next week's rain though.
Why is that?
Too much.
Yeah,
well, there's something coming down.
One coming down from the north.
We're already hitting it.
Yeah,
we're already hitting it. So before it comes over too much, we'll turn you guys around and we'll hit it again. Yeah. There's about 15 people in New Zealand with devices, just little ones. They're doing the same thing. Every storm that comes in, they're draining it before it hits them. And what's left over, you're getting nice, normal rains.
Nice participation, they call it, don't they?
Yep.
Steady participation, does no harm. Sunny days. Beautiful. I don't know.
We definitely need to stop these floods coming. My sister-in-law is the principal of a school who's been flooded 3 times in the last year, and they're predicting more. So we really don't need the Hawkesbury flooded again.
I mean, they did a good job up north on the coast, Lismore, etc. They did a bloody good job.
This is where we'll be able to get enough people with little devices like this, and you all stand out in the backyard and you point them at your storms.
All right, I need to make one.
Yeah, it's not difficult.
And they are not difficult. These things are simple. Nothing needs to be changed, and they work.
Yeah, I mean, so if you give me the link, I'll pop it on my Telegram.
Yep.
Yeah, beautiful. So I'll pop the link on the Telegram group, the Wimmera Law Guide group, so you can watch the video if you want of what we did. But we built 3. There was about 14 of us here, and probably half of those were children. and we were soldering, we were rolling metal, we were sticking in tubes, we were building stands. I mean, Clinton popped in from Japara. He was only here for about an hour. We knocked 3 stands up in less than an hour. It was friggin' hilarious. When you got people that know what they're doing, it was beautiful. It was, you know, it wasn't paperwork, it was physical.
Yes. And
but
for me to share that with you guys for 3 hours, just my knowledge was coming out. Everyone was listening. They made 3 devices and they work. They work. I can see them working straight away. Look, because I look at the maps. I follow the maps and I can see footprints of where people are actually deploying. Like you said, you pointed at the Sydney storm, and within 4 hours, mate, all the redness had gone out of the storm.
Red had gone out of the storm. There's a massive, massive red patch just coming in towards Sydney. By the time we got to Sydney, it was back to green, wasn't it, or light blue or something?
Yeah, no, it was like a bluey colour.
Yeah, light blue, which is not heavy rain. So you know, I feel like we did something. That was really cool.
You did do something.
Yeah.
You've done something really well, because we were playing with stuff up in the northwest.
Yeah. Hey, Jules is in here. How you going, Jules? Haven't spoke to you for ages. What are you going to say?
Something.
Oh, sorry, who wants to say something? Tony. Who's that? Tony. Is that Tony Might?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it is.
Tony, get your hand up, mate. Unmute.
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? Better late than never. I'm just seeing that parasites are going to teach us how to live correctly.
Hold on, get your mic back on, mate. You're away from your mic.
These parasites are going to teach us how to live correctly.
Sorry, I missed the question.
Once we're pushed into the corner, we're going to have to learn how to live correctly.
Yeah, I would sort of say. And to be so dependent on a system that has been manufactured is the wrong way to be. You have to, you know, be using a shop because of the odd thing, not everything.
I think the people in the city are going to have a harder time than we are in the country. Look, I live in a peninsula, so either side of me I can go fishing. It's like the oysters. I can get dozens and dozens of oysters. We can get. There's just abundance of food where I live, and right out my back, over my fence, I've got rabbits.
Of food around us. I mean, we're not going to be in trouble.
No.
You know, there's going to be a reduction in population, which you're going to see. You're going to see that over the next couple of years. The only worry I have is if the people come out of the cities and are raging, and that may happen. And then fortunately we've got a bit of lead and brass. And Wimmera actually has more guns per head per capita than anywhere else in Australia. So I wouldn't worry.
Totally agree with you, Andy.
Apparently there's more guns than people in the Wimmera. So if shit goes to the fan, I don't have any worries.
No. Even where I am, there's a lot of farmers and that there, and we've got no worry with that either.
And I know it's a horrible way to think, and I just hope it never happens. But you know, at the end of the day, you've got, you know, also you're looking for your backup plan. There's your backup plan. You know, there's veggies and plenty of gardens around you. You know, there's plenty of people that feed you. You know, you can always come for a meal. Don't worry.
Yeah, if that happens, you just leave your house, you fill it with the food that's left in your house and come out. And your seeds, everything you've got, mate, and just get in your car and...
You know, we're awakened, so we know to collect seeds. Yep. We know to grow things. We know what weeds are. You know, you've done a weed thing. That was a beautiful... At least, I'll tell you what, Elsa's son... Was it his son did it, didn't he? Elsa? Yeah. Her son did a weed walk the other day to tell us what things were. And there's weeds out there that will basically sort skin cancer out. There's weeds out there you can eat for your vitamins, list of vitamins. Tanya took pictures of every weed we took. We've made a sheet up. We're gonna get it laminated and we'll also stick it on our Telegram group so people can learn for themselves. But she specifically took one picture of every weed, and she's been asking questions. Every time I meet someone, you know, that knows anything, she's been asking questions about the weeds, you know, and this, that, and the other. Loads of information. She's gathering more than anything, and she's the sort of girl that will put it onto a sheet so you can go, Oh, that's what that is, and that's what you can use it for. Oh, I think I'll have some of that vitamin C. You know, Southswap.
What's those
You
prickly
just
things
chew the
called?
stem and you get more vitamin C than you get in a bloody 16 oranges.
What are those prickly things called? That make you scratch and like, get sore.
Oh, I don't know which one you mean.
Well, there's a little prickly bush that when you go through it, it's
Stinging nettle.
That's the one. Well, you know, you can actually take one of the leaves off and crush that down, and where you've been stung, rub it on, and the sting goes.
All right.
You can also use it for food.
Yeah.
Folks, I need to say goodbye. So
yeah, I don't blame you. I'm not far behind it, to be honest.
I just have family things to deal with, so I need to go.
Thank you very, very much for your time. And
thanks, guys.
Did you put a link in the chat? Have you
a link?
Have your website?
I'll put it in right now.
If anybody wants to save the chat, you can. I will get this and the last one uploaded to the Wimmera Wimmera.law.guide site, because we've got plenty of space on there. So I'm going to stick a few zooms on there. The last two have been pretty good. So I'm going to stick those on there so you can tell people, go and have a look. You know, sign up to the group, go and have a look. You can emulate this, what we're doing, anywhere in Australia. You can take exactly what we've got, the information that we've learned. You can share exactly the same as in Australia, anywhere. We've done ours on a private server from New Zealand. You can use him, you can use who you like, but you can basically, I'm happy for anybody to grab it, just change the top names, put it in your own area. You can have all the information we've learned. All right, and you're welcome to all the information.
That's lovely.
Okay, so
then we just join one group, and then I'll start teaching you the maps of where we've got a point.
Yeah, so I mean, whether it's weather, whether it's food, whether it's weeds, whether it's astrology, whether it's true law, yeah, whatever it be, you know, this is what this is about, a community.
Yeah.
Love to you all.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thank you, Lou.
I'll be coming over.
You guys next time.
Thank you.
Nadia, I'll be
Can I just get the website again, or whatever? Wimmera.law.
Yeah, Wimmera.law, LORE.guide. And it's a HTTP. It's not a www, same as yours. HTTP // or // whatever it is.
All right.
I'll be seeing Nadia.
You won't find it on Google because it's on a private server. You'll have to go on DuckDuckGo or something. But yeah, Wimmera.law.guide, and you sign in there. You get an email for the Zooms, and anything we're doing is on there. Basically, we started this for trusts and equities because we comprehend that everywhere in the world you can have equity, but you don't need law for equity. So law always has equity, but equity doesn't require law.
Okay.
And the fact is, you shouldn't be paying for anything. So we're learning that as well.
Yeah.
Hey guys, have a beautiful night.
Okay, thank you all.
Night. Thanks.
Night.
Night.